Hey there, welcome back to True North Reviews. My name is Ryan, and today we're discussing the new Hozier record, Wasteland Baby. Wasteland Baby is the sophomore release from the Irish singer-songwriter Andrew Hozier Byrne. He's fresh off his 2018 EP, Nina Cried Power, something that I personally found to be entertaining and seemingly a microcosm of Hozier's attractive traits as a songwriter. He definitely has a way with words as he's able to paint a vivid picture of sexual relationships in your mind that may be taboo due to religious beliefs or family values. But I've been anticipating this album for quite some time now. It's following up the 2014 self-titled record, one that I love to pieces, and that's what makes it so hard to say that in comparison, Wasteland Baby is a big disappointment and flop in my opinion. Notable in pretty much every Hozier song, there's this gritty sheen of soul or folk, something that is tolerable, but the more I hear it, the less I'm convinced that we're getting new material here and instead being treated to recycled ideas from the past. But before you all hate on me, please hear me out. I think this record starts off very strong. Nina Cried Power, the title track from the EP in 2018, will still remain one of my favorite songs of the past few years. I mean, when you have a vocal feature of Mavis Staples on here and the way that she absolutely kills it, it's hard not to like it. I also think movement is drenched in the organs that makes every Hozier song gratifying, sublime, or grand. And No Plan has a charm to its hypnotic, groovy bass line and sultry vocal performance. Believe me, for the first 15-16 minutes of this record, I have nothing to complain about. But it's when we hit the song Nobody that's when I really want to crawl into this ball and pray for better lyrics. Plain and simple, I can't stand the underwhelming songwriting on this project. Like, how generic and bland do you have to be to say that I've never had a love like yours before? The guitar playing is also yawn-inducing for the most part. I mean, the next track isn't any better. In fact, I think it's one of the worst songs I've heard this year. This one is called To Noise Making, Sing. My god, Hozier's singing on here is atrocious. I honestly don't think I've heard Hozier sound this bad on a song before, and it's just bringing about these traumatic experiences of listening to the new James Bay record, because that was just a mess of gospel influence. Between these two artists, I don't understand the infatuation with the gospel influence. I simply fail to see the crossover appeal. Despite that, I know Hozier has had quite the success with it, as well as with darker and scarier tones. He definitely takes aim for the dark and scary tone on the track, like As It Was. Unfortunately, this song, in my opinion, just misses the mark. Don't get me wrong, there are a couple of elements that I do enjoy, including the synchronized guitar plucking and vocal delivery 1-2 punch. And yeah, the dissonant counter melody is there, but it's just flat out boring. What I mean by it is that there's no impending doom as there would be like on an older track like To Be Alone. As It Was just limps across the finish line. The ending of the song doesn't even feel like it's resolved or justified for why it just ends, and it for sure has no momentum going into the next slow song, Shrike. I admire the song Shrike on the Nina Cried Power EP, especially as the epiphany-like closer, but here I just feel like it loses its emotional punch as it's placed in the middle of this album. Moving on from there, the song Talk tries to bring back this rustic, upbeat guitar tone. Hozier throws in some hey ya shouts, and nothing's really sticking with me here. B is finally a nice deep cut on this record. I didn't think we'd actually get that based on how flat and boring the middle part of this record is. Again, lyrically nothing special here, just like Nobody, but at least I can remember the chorus after playing it, and it's in a pleasing way, not like To Noise Making is. On the track B, there's an urgency to Hozier's singing, and I can definitely applaud him for supporting the composition with powerful vocals. Dinner and Diatribes has an interesting guitar lick looped throughout, one of the more energetic and exciting singles. I also admire the synthesizers and the more unique ones on No Plan. Unfortunately, this record falls back into the same trap as it did with Shrike. Not saying Shrike is a bad song, I still love it. I just feel like I'm salty because of where it was placed in the track listing. I just feel that by the time we get to the song Would That I'm convinced that Hozier has run out of guitar lick ideas. And it's not even like the guitar lick was needed at the beginning of Would That because by the second half it's just gone. And then I feel like I'm assaulted with these over-dramatized and exaggerated vocals in the chorus. The track could have gotten away with no guitar in the first place and could have just beaten me senseless with the over-the-top vocals. Essentially, I feel like this song just glues together two parts of two different song ideas, one from the verse and one from the chorus, and they don't really fit well together. Of course, we don't have to stop there because the overblown chorus and the guitar playing gets on my nerve one last time before the record closes. This comes on the track Sunlight, which plays as like this carbon carbon copy of the song before. Too bad it's tedious and lifeless. I feel like the guitar tone is so dry it just sucks the entire life out of it. And I feel like that's all owed to the rustic production on this album. I will hand it to Hozier though, he did end this record on a high note. The closing track definitely makes me feel like I'm in a dream after death. A lot of this record tries to revolve around life and death and how destruction can be mirrored to life itself. But the title track, which is also the closing track, is one that I can recommend because it's captivating nature. In addition to that, the watery vocal modulation is pretty cool too, and the synthesizers make me feel like I'm in heaven, and it's a serene way to close the album. Overall, Wasteland Baby has about 6 songs that I'll save. The rest of them are throwaway in my eyes, really just a longer album than what it actually is. Like 14 tracks isn't all too much compared to the typical rap album that we're getting nowadays. It's just surprising that the longest cut on this project is one of the more pleasurable songs compared to the 3.5-minute ones. And you'd think with 3.5-minute songs those would be easier to listen to, given that that's like the typical single length. But instead they're harder to swallow, and I just don't really like listening to them. If I'm being completely honest, I'm feeling a 4 out of 10 on this record. It's a big flop for me. I definitely feel like this is a letdown for the amount of time that we had between the 2014 release and now this 2019 release. I will continue to play a handful of these songs, and I don't want to undersell some of these songs because they are great. It's just the album as a whole didn't really sit well with me. Tell me if you think I'm wrong, sound off down below in the comments, leave a like, subscribe if you're new in town. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a rockin' day.